Hello and welcome to a Black Friday edition of the List Show. My other show, my name is Dylan Lang. I do a show called Dylan Knows. I will be doing my new episode of that every Saturday, and I do new episodes of that every Saturday. My newest episode of that for this week will be tomorrow, Saturday, because it is only Friday. 4-day weekend. Yesterday was Thanksgiving. I'll be talking all about Thanksgiving tomorrow on my regular show. But because I have some time to kill and I really don't feel like doing anything right now, the decorating for Christmas stuff's going to have to wait probably till tomorrow because I don't feel like doing anything else. And same with cleaning up the house because it was a long day yesterday and I just need to do something lighter. So I got a couple list shows I'm going to do. This might be my first of two that I'm going to do here within the next hour or so. Honestly, this is volume 14 of the list show, the top 10 films of 2015. I don't know if I've ever done a top 10 films since I started doing this. I started doing it, I think, last year, and I don't think I did a top 10 films of 2014. But I do have one for 2015, and if I decide to do another one, the next one will probably be top 15 films of 2010. So the top 20 films of 2005 and the top 35 films of 1990. So we'll see how all that goes about. But right now we're going to talk about 2015, which, let's go back into the Wayback Machine, was the last year before everything went to shit, before MAGA came into power, those fucking shitbags who have destroyed our country because they're a bunch of traitor pedo lovers. But we're not going to talk about that right now. That's politics, and I might touch on that during my Dylan Knows show. This is more just about movies, list show. Let's just cover the top 10 films that we got for 2015. Pretty decent year. It was the year of the Legacy sequel. Two of them came out, kind of. Marvel, the MCU, continued their dominance as well. And we got a whole lot of other stuff here going on too. So, as always, I have 2 to 3 honorable mentions. I have 3 honorable mentions for this one. So let's get started right now. The first honorable mention is The Walk. Robert Zemeckis has always been one of these more interesting directors. He tends to do a wide variety of films, and they don't always all succeed. But you have to give him credit because he has been a visionary, Academy Award-winning director. And The Walk had Joseph Gordon-Levitt in a biopic about a tightrope walker who walked between the two towers back in the 1980s. It's a pretty decent film, but it makes you think, is like, do we really need to have a film version of this? It's fine, it's great, whatever. But it's still fascinating to look at. It's Robert Zemeckis, so you got to kind of like that as well. The next honorable mention is The Man from U.N.C.L.E., a remake of the British TV show that had Henry Cavill and the dude who was the cannibal. I forget his name. But everybody seems to think that this was, everybody has this boner for Henry Cavill, and he's fine. But everyone just seems to have this big boner for him, and they want him to be in like every film ever invented. And this one, and one of the things to talk about is they should have him, be James Bond. And this is actually the closest James Bond that he will come probably to that. But it's an entertaining film, and wish there could have been a sequel when maybe he could focus on that and keep the weirdo fans away from all the other stuff that he's working on. So we'll see. And finally, December 5th, which is coming up next Friday, is Krampusnacht. And I love Krampus. And they decided to make a movie called Krampus that was by the director of Trick or Treat. And it's a fairly well done horror film. Krampus is a very interesting character who I absolutely love. But there were 10 other films I found a little bit better than Krampus, but it's still an entertaining film. So let's start with number 10. Number 10, we have Inside Out, which was a phenomenal Pixar film that focused more on the interior of the mind of a teenage girl. And I thought it was very well done, very heartfelt, something unique that you don't really see much. They did a Herman's Head TV show back in the early 90s. This is kind of a version of that, but with a teenage girl. But this was actually a little bit, more heart-ripping and heart-rendering, and it doesn't quite end exactly how you would expect it to. Very well done. It spawned off a sequel that did phenomenally well last year. The movie theaters. It was last year. It wasn't this year, was it? I don't think it was this year. I think it was last year. Was it this year? Did the sequel come out this year? I can't remember. No, 2024. Okay, it came out last year. So what was it? What was the Pixar movie that came out this year? Oh, I don't remember. Oh well, I know How You Train Your Dragon came out, so whatever. But yeah, so Inside Out, definitely worthwhile. It might not be for the guys, but it does have a good message, and it's a good look at the inside of what makes people tick, and decent vocal cast, and gotta love it. Number 9, all the film geeks and all the film, connoisseurs and all that who I get irritated with a lot, find this film to be one of the greatest action films of all time. And to me, it's just like, it was okay. It's on my list. It's number 9. It's Fury Road. It's a prequel to the Mad Max, or kind of it's hard to describe. It's kind of a continuation of Mad Max, but also kind of a prequel because it doesn't have Mel Gibson, and it's got Tom Hardy instead, and Charlize Theron, and George Miller directed it, who did direct the Mad Max movies. It is visually stunning. It is really good, but I'm just not the guy that gets that this is like one of the greatest action films of all time. It's great, it's good, it's decent, but it's just me. I'm not a film connoisseur geek guy, and even I don't want to call them connoisseur because that kind of makes them feel like they know what they're talking about. It's just when it comes to film recognition, stuff like that, it's their decision and their opinion of what they think it is, and it tends to be a good film, and it is. It's a good film. It's why it's number 9 on my list. But I just did not like it as much as everybody else seems to have. So, and the thing is, it didn't do very well at the box office, and it became sort of a cult film, but it didn't do that well at the box office. So, it still was able to spin off a sequel / prequel to it with Anya Taylor-Jones and Chris Hemsworth that again didn't do very well at the box office. But again, everyone was like giving it the greatest thing that ever invented. And I was just like, ugh, I don't know. I don't get it. And that's just me. Maybe it's my 52 years of age on whatever. It's fine. That's why it's number 9 on my list. It's just, it's not a lot there, to be honest. Number 8 is Minions. So yes, I believe the Minions movie was better than Fury Road. Go ahead and drop your comments in the comment section. I'll give a rat's ass. This is my list, my decision. This is how I look at this stuff. I found Minions much more entertaining, even though they are kind of annoying. And when I heard that they were announcing that the Minions movie was going to be made, I was like, how the hell are you going to make a Minions movie? Because they don't talk in any discernible way that you can understand, but you were able to get connotations, stuff like that. And it follows 3 of them as they try to hook up with a new bad guy leader and end up going to like a supervillain convention. And you got Michael Keaton as a voice in there as well. And you have, I think this is the one that has Sandra Bullock in it. Because this is sort of like the prequel to, this is when before they hooked up with Gru, I think. So this is when they were looking for a minion, a bad guy leader. And I think Sandra Bullock played the bad guy in this. And then Michael Keaton has a really good vocal section in here too. It's a lot more entertaining than you think it is. And as I said, it's a movie that probably shouldn't work because the minions don't have any discernible language. And yet you can understand exactly everything that's going on in the film due to context clues and connotations of what you're seeing on the film. So it's fine. It's entertaining. And yes, I know it sounds weird, but Inside Out was just way too deep for me, but still a very good film. And Fury Road was a fine action film, but I found Minions and all the rest of the movies ahead of those a lot more entertaining for me, myself, and not necessarily for the whole rest of the world. Take away my film cred card. I don't give a rat's ass. It's opinion. My opinion is I like Minions At number 8, Better Than Fury Road and Inside Out. Number 7 is a film that absolutely surprised the hell out of me. Another one that seems to be the big thing about 2015. I don't know if I can't, it came in, it started at the wrong era for me, but I was never into Goosebumps. I think they came in the era after I was in the age group that you would focus on it. So I never really paid attention to it, never watched any of the shows, never read any of the books, whatever. And then they announced a Goosebumps movie, which is what's number 7, with Jack Black, who is going to be playing the author of the Goosebumps, R.L. Stine, the Goosebumps movie books. And it sounded like a neat idea, whatever, but my kids were at that age. Let's see, my daughter was almost 10 years old. She was 9, and my son was 6. So they were in that age period where they were getting into sort of the Goosebumps, R.L. Stine sort of stuff, and they were kind of intrigued about this film. So I don't know if we saw it in the movie theater or we got it on Blu-ray. I can't remember. But we did see it, and you know what? I was pleasantly surprised about how good it was. Jack Black, again, showing off. He has a really good actor, and a very interesting story about a loner sort of kid whose mother is vice principal, I think, of the school. Just got hired as vice principal of the school that he was going into. So that was already kind of awkward for him. He was a teenager, and the actor's name was Dylan Minnette, I think. And he moved next door to a strange house where at night he's been hearing weird noises and arguing and stuff like that, and discovers and sees a young woman in the window who he's immediately kind of attracted to, and fears that her father is abusing her. So he tries to save her and gets her out. And we soon discover that it was author R.L. Stine, and that everything that he has written, all the books he's written, actually are about real things. And the creatures that he writes about are all real, and he's trapped them in his books, and he has them in like a safe or whatever like that, or a display case that you can't get into. And of course, you know, things happen, and all the books get open, so all the Goosebumps monsters get released into the world, and it's up to Dylan Minnette. I think his friend is in there, the girl, R.L. Stine, a few other people, to try to save the day right around Halloween. So it's a really good Halloween sort of esque family sort of film. Not too scary, but it's actually a very entertaining, surprisingly entertaining and fun film. We're sort of similar to the Lego Movie, which I really didn't think much about and found it to be actually an absolutely dynamite film. Goosebumps is sort of the same way. It surprised the heck out of me. Now, it generated a sequel, which I didn't see, so I couldn't tell you if the sequel was any good, but I really, really liked the first Goosebumps movie and highly recommend it, particularly during spooky season, which has already passed, unfortunately, because we are now in Christmas season since Thanksgiving was yesterday. Number 6 is the first of 2 MCU films, and one, again, that surprised a lot of people, Ant-Man with Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas. It's originally was Edgar Wright was supposed to direct it, and when he opted out, all the film geek nerds, connoisseurs I talked about earlier, like, oh God, it's going to be awful, blah, blah, blah. But Ant-Man is actually a highly entertaining, fun film, partially due to, well, not really partially, but mostly due to Paul Rudd's fantastic version of the character. And Michael Douglas's Hank Pym is a really interesting decision as well. And to get him in the MCU is really fascinating. So that was kind of cool. But I really liked Ant-Man. I like the sequel better, to be honest. Ant-Man and the Wasp I find a lot better. But Ant-Man was a good setup. You got Judy Greer as his ex-wife, who's phenomenal also. You get Luis, was it John Seda, I think. I forget his name, but he was a good addition to it, and it was a fun film. And it continues. Ant-Man and the Wasp is another fun action film. And then number 3, Quantumania, came, and absolutely everybody shit on it. And I actually found it just as entertaining. Not as good, obviously, as the first two, because it was a different sort of story, but it was a nice way to move Ant-Man's story involves a little bit further. But the original Ant-Man still stands up. Evangeline Lilly's in it as well. So definitely a good amount of acting, a good connection to the MCU. There's even a small sequence where Ant-Man runs into the Falcon, who was the Falcon at the time, and he's in the movie as well to give it sort of that cred of being part of the MCU. And then that leads to Falcon signing him up for Civil War, which leads to Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it's definitely one of my more favorite MCU films. A lot more fun because a lot of the MCU movies tend to get a little too over serious, even with their comedy in it. And I've always been a comic book fan, obviously, and I find that this was just the perfect, movie, perfect venue for a character like Ant-Man. And I think they pulled it off pretty spectacularly. And then they got a decent, as I said, a really good actor in Paul Rudd to play it, and he just absolutely kills it. So good on that. The next one, number 5, is the next MCU film, the sequel to one of the biggest and hottest of MCU movies of all time, The Avengers. We have Avengers Age of Ultron, which does not actually hold up as well as the original Avengers does, but it still has entertaining aspects to it. Introduces us to Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch, which turns out to be phenomenal for the MCU. It sort of ruined Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was fantastically cast as Quicksilver. Quite not as good as the X-Men versions that they had, but still would have been fun to see what they could have done with him. But instead they, spoiler alert, killed him off. You had James Spader voicing Ultron, which is a phenomenal idea. You got the introduction of the Vision, played by Paul Bettany, which was a great introduction of the character too. And you set up Civil War with the Sokovia Accords, and you even give Hawkeye a little bit of a redemption arc because he really got shit on in the original Avengers, and they sort of and Joss Whedon, who wrote and directed this one, saw that and decided to give him a little bit more to do. Why it's not one of my more favorite MCU films is the forced relationship between Black Widow and the Hulk, which is still funny because Scarlett Johansson and see, I'm old. I can't remember. I can see on my face too. This is killing me. Mark Ruffalo. I'm sorry, Mark. I always forget you. The force between Scarlett Johansson and Mark Ruffalo, relationship between them was kind of bleh. But it's funny because both of them have the same birthday, and they have a joke about that. It did introduce Hawkeye's wife, who was a phenomenal addition to the cast and his family, and they play out better more in the Hawkeye miniseries. And we also get an appearance from Claw, played by the guy who did Gollum, whose name I also always forget all the time, but you know who I'm talking about. So you got introduced to a lot of different characters, and Wakanda was mentioned for the first time, and then the mid-credit, end-credit sequence was kind of lame because it was Thanos grabbing the Infinity Gauntlet saying he's going to have to do it himself, and that was just kind of, okay, that's kind of a lame mid-credit sequence. The other reason why I don't like it too much is that Thor barely has anything to do. He pops up, then they send him away on some sort of quest that has really nothing to do with anything, I guess, to add the Infinity Stone storyline into it, so he's kind of not used for the majority of the film. You can start seeing the breaks between the Avengers, at least the Civil War, which is a good setup, but still there's a lot that needed to be kind of ironed out, but they didn't do a good job of it. And they tried to connect the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show to Avengers Age of Ultron. And if you did not know about that connection when the finale happens and the thing that saves everybody comes in, you learn later on that's from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. And that was really the last time that they tried to connect the show with the movies, which kind of sucked also, because it would have been nice to have sort of a better connection with the movies. But it's still a decent film, but not anywhere near as good as the Avengers. But it did introduce a whole ton of new characters, did set up more of the Infinity Stone stuff, and just sort of, didn't really give a lot of the characters a lot to do, where they were able to sort of juggle it a bit better in the Avengers movie. So it is what it is, and that's just how it goes. So, but it's still decent. So it's number 5, still a good one from the MCU. First up, number 4 is the first legacy sequel. We have Jurassic World, which made a shit ton of money. Actually, I think broke Avengers opening weekend gross. It has Chris Pratt and Ron Howard's daughter in it, who, again, I can't think of her name right now. I don't really know all this stuff. And there's Pepper. Hi, Peps. There you are. Yeah, hi, big boy. And it's not really a legacy because none of the old characters show up in it. But still, it's basically, you had Jurassic Park, you had the Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, and then it's sort of the Jurassic Park movie sort of disappeared for a while. And then they came up with Jurassic World, which created its own trilogy with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. That's who it was. To continue the storyline and make it a little bit different. In this case, instead of it being, the Jurassic Park is under construction or whatever, they actually constructed the park, and they're running it like they were planning to in the original film. And then all heck breaks loose, and we also learned that, well, B.D. Wong, I guess, who's in it, is maybe the only legacy character from the original Jurassic Park who shows up as kind of the bad guy, which is kind of interesting. You also get Vincent D'Onofrio has a role in it as well, which is good to see him too. We also learned that Chris Pratt can control raptors, which is an interesting aspect. So I saw Jurassic World in the movie theaters. I thought it was a decent return to the world of the Jurassic Park stuff, because Jurassic Park 3 was okay, but the sequels kept getting considerably worse away from Jurassic Park. And this is kind of a good way to bring them back, to bring back the dinosaurs and the Jurassic World storyline, stuff like that. And as I said, it did so successfully, it spun off 2 more movies that everyone says are actually a whole lot worse than the first one. I haven't seen those, which is funny. This is the last one I saw. So I can't give you my opinion on that. But I enjoyed Jurassic World. There are other aspects of it that I didn't like to it. We got Judy Greer in there, and then again as well. So she pops up a couple times on here. And there's a couple of sequences in the film that I thought were unnecessary and a little too vicious, particularly the death of the assistant who was just trying to do her job and wasn't being an a-hole to the kids. And the 2 kids were kind of annoying who were in it as well. And it was just kind of it was an interesting film in general. And it was good to see the T-Rex from the original Jurassic Park come back as well. So it was, as a legacy sequel, it was pretty decent. It was a good film, and spun off 2 more food movies that did just as well, but are not as looked upon as lovingly as Jurassic World and Jurassic Park are. I mean, Jurassic Park is its own sort of being, so it'll never have anyone's ever going to top Jurassic Park, I don't think. Pepper, I love you so much. Sorry. Number 3 is a film that I did not see when it originally came out in 2015, but when I heard who was in the cast and who directed it, I had to see it immediately, and I enjoyed it immensely. It's The Intern. Nancy Meyers directed, with Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro. It's a sweet sort of film about a hard-driving small business owner who, actually not really a business owner, an online business owner who makes a lot of money, and is running her company, but she's driving herself way too hard, and her husband is a stay-at-home dad, and he's having an affair, and she knows about it but doesn't really care because she cares, but she just doesn't know what to do about it because her company needs her, and she's trying to figure out ways to juggle everything, but it's really, really hard for her. And Robert De Niro is great. He's a sweet guy in this movie. And Rene Russo actually pops up in it as well. Robert De Niro plays a retired gentleman who is bored with his sort of his retirement, and always been the type of guy that needed something to do and really doesn't have anything to do, and then sees an ad for an intern slot at this company that Anne Hathaway runs. They wanted to start focusing on older people to give them a chance to, intern and keep themselves busy during their retirement age if they felt bored or whatever. And so Robert De Niro signed up for it because he was bored with being retired, and ends up being a phenomenal assistant to Anne Hathaway's character, helping her bring her down to back to earth, get her priorities straight, and solve any issues that she might have. And it's a very cute film, very enjoyable, nothing too terrible in it. But it's a typical Nancy Meyer sort of film, so it's really well done, and it's very entertaining, and highly recommend. It's number 3. Number 2 was a huge surprise. This is a true legacy sequel that a lot of people were not expecting, and it paid off incredibly. This, along with Jurassic World and Avengers Age of Ultron, made 2015's box office be humongous. In fact, this film is in the top 5 highest grossing movies of all time. And it is the 7th movie of a science fiction trilogy everybody enjoys. Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which is the first of a new trilogy that took place after, like 15, 25 years after Return of the Jedi. Brings back Harrison Ford as Han Solo, Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, and at the very end, in a small cameo role, Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. He plays a bigger role in the second film, The Last Jedi. And we are introduced to a whole bunch of new characters, Rey and Oscar Isaac's character, who I can't remember, and the black guy whose name I can't remember also. Finn, that was his name. And just introduced to a brand new group of science fiction freedom fighters. We get what is the bad guy's name? See, when I really want to talk about stuff, I can't remember, and I can't remember stuff that I always talk about all the time. Oh, there it is. Kylo Ren, that's what it was. Kylo Ren, played by, what's his name? Adam Driver. Oscar Isaac was Poe. John Boyega was Finn. Daisy Ridley was Rey. Harrison Ford, Han Solo. Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia. Gwendolyn Christie was Captain Phasma. We also got Lupita Nyong'o, Max von Sydow, Domhnall Gleeson, Andy Serkis, Anthony Daniels, Simon Pegg, Greg Grunberg. Directed by J.J. Abrams. It was actually a decent beginning to a new trilogy. It played a lot like the original Star Wars, but it introduced a whole bunch of really interesting new characters and ones I wanted to follow a little bit more, and introduce some interesting connections, and even were able to weave in some of the old school stuff. But in the end, it was a decent film. Probably in my ranking, it goes above a lot of the prequel movies, probably because I liked it a little bit better. And the trilogy itself that came after it was a mess in general because there was no plan for it. So, but it's still, The Force Awakens is still one of my favorites. It's one I need to revisit because I remember I enjoyed it immensely. I did see it at the movie theater. I enjoyed it immensely, and it made a shit ton of money. So that's number 2. And number 1, if you've been following my list shows or my show in general, you know this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Number 1 is The Martian, the adaptation of the novel that stars Matt Damon, directed by Ridley Scott. Also has Sebastian Stan in it. And what's her name? God damn it. Yeah. Just a great cast in general. It had Jeff Daniels. It had Chiwetel Ejiofor. It had I can see all these people's names. Their names aren't coming to me right now. Jessica Chastain was in it. Again, Luis, the actor who played Luis. I think it's Luis Guzman. Let's see. I just got to get because it's a killer cast. Matt Damon, Jessica Chastain, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Kate Mara, Kristen Wiig, Sebastian Stan, Michael Pena, that's who it was, Mackenzie Davis, Jeff Daniels, Donald Glover, Sean Bean, Benedict Wong, Nick Mohammed from Joe Lasso, Ted Lasso, excuse me. What the hell did I get Joe Lasso from? But in general, it's a phenomenal film directed by Ridley Scott. One of my favorite films. I love to revisit it all the time. I watch it all the time. I read the book, enjoyed the book immensely also. And they did a really decent adaptation of it. And if you have not seen The Martian, I highly recommend that you check it out because I think it's well worth it. All right, that's my number 1. So top 10 movies of 2015 is done. So thank you for watching. I think I'm going to do the top 15 films of 2010. Yeah, because top 20 films of 2005 is going to take a little while. Though, no, it's going to take too long. Top 35 is going to take a little lots of time. So, yeah, this one will probably take a very quick amount of time, too. So, we'll cover that one in a little bit, but thank you for watching the top 10 films of 2015. I'm going to shut down now, and I will be back very soon with the top 15 films of 2010. Thanks for watching.